Hey guys, what's up? Just a quick reminder to like and subscribe to the videos before you watch so we can keep making videos. Enjoy.
David, thank you very much for coming. It's just like I've been trying to bring you here for 3 years, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember the last time that you were here, I think you were in the thermal club installing a track. You're so close. Please come here. And I know that you're a busy guy, but thank you very much for stopping by.
No, thanks for having me on or having me here. This is a fantastic place.
Pretty cool, right? We're trying to we're very proud of what we're doing here. Not only the stock, but everything that is happening here, the racing community that we have around, the people that are around, they're pretty good. We just have a customer stopping by just to give us Christmas gift cards and cards, handwritten cards, saying that he really enjoys the time here. And so he gave one to every single guy here. Yeah. So we're very proud of what we're doing and how we're growing stuff. And I think in the past, I don't want to talk about the pandemic, but I believe that before pandemic, a little bit, you were a big part of it to bring Slotcars back, which is or big sticker or big T-shirt here.
Well, as far as if I'm answering your point, as far as the exposure, of what Slot Mods is doing, for the hobby. With our Facebook and such, the amount of people asking, slot cars are back, and yes, they are, and us sharing the links, Electric Dreams and a few others. But yeah, the pandemic, I believe you guys got a resurgence in orders and things like that. If I'm addressing what you're asking, but to me, all the people who, when we're doing installations or we do these large activations for Formula One and Mercedes and stuff, people come up and they want to tell their stories about, hey, when I was a kid. And I'm like, it's not gone. Go online, Carrera, Scalextrics. And so, when I first founded the company, the first year, Scott and I talked, and he was in his car driving through Malibu. And in my head, I just pictured like how cool it must have been. And he was wishing me luck. And so, we've kind of had our conversations and developed a friendship over the years, like kind of holding the torch out there and letting people know that, this exists, and to come into this place and have it be so cool and dynamic. And when I was here yesterday, there was guys here buying, and I spent my fair share and stuff. So very impressive. I mean, I love the hobby.
You know that we joke about that. When I was a kid is the most common slot car sentence. We got people literally stepping in by the door and start yelling, "When I was a kid back in." So it's constant nostalgia. There was an article on LA Times probably 5 years ago before I started working with Electric Dreams. It was a very nice article, like full page color. This journalist, he went to one of the Far Out races. Far Out is a local club. They've been around for almost 20 years. They go to the people's houses in small tracks. You probably know Stephen Far Jones. Yes. So he went there and he covered a race, and everybody was happy because we're going to have some free promo, right? Talking about slot cars. And this whole article was about nostalgia. Like, guess what? A bunch of 60 years old get around every weekend to race slot cars. They're still alive. And we don't have to talk about slot cars of the bunch of 60 years old. But the thing is, everybody was happy to see this full page colored on the LA Times. But it was kind of, look, he's just looking back. He's not talking about what it can become and how cool this is. And maybe even an option to the screens. Like the kids on the screens all the time, and they don't have any manual capability.
Right.
And this is kind of the angle that we so look, this is good, but it's not good. I think it's kind of looking bad to us. And this is a hobby that we love. Some people call it sport because we have races. It's competitive, and we should go from here to there. I understand the nostalgia, and I understand that when I was a kid. Yeah. But look at this now, much more reliable, much more affordable, much more people doing. I don't think that's one thing that I say to these people here, to the racers here. They always come, I had a track. I used to go to a track in Redondo Beach. I used to go. Look at you now. The races that we're having here with 70 people, those cars, they have all the parts available. You can try everything you want. It's Segundo, sunny.
Right.
So people need to realize that we're kind of living a gold moment now.
Yeah, I believe so. And this year I was very fortunate to be tapped with Carrera to do their 60th anniversary track. And there was a lot of promotion that they were doing on Facebook. And then I went to the New York Toy Show and the track was there. And, it was really a cool experience. And I was in talking with them, and I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot or whatever, but I'm pretty open about how I see what's going on in the industry. And I think sometimes the manufacturers are just looking at, this is what we're selling. We're just a toy company, and we're not really promoting. I'm going to call it miniature motorsports, in the slot cars. And I feel that the American representatives are a little bit frustrated as well as getting their word out there that here's all these toys. I mean, sure, ship a container at Christmas time and put it out there and promote it in the aisles on the lower shelf, but I think that it starts with educating the parents that here's a way to bring friends and families together, get your kids off the couch and get them racing slot cars. Because when we do our shows, the kids are all lined up from 4, to 60. But it's all the young ones that are really glued and in tune, and they're like, what is this? Because they've never seen it before. Yeah. And so sometimes I think the messaging gets lost, when I was, when I had lost my job and I founded Slot Mods and I set up an aisle 6 of a hobby shop, and, people were coming in there and they're like, wow, and they saw this little 4x16 table running, and they were going over and buying slot cars. And it was this like, here it is. It's right here. You can board it, buy it and take it with you. And I think like what you guys are doing here, I think you've had a major impact, with Electric Dreams. Scott talks very highly of you, and, guys like you are far and few between in the hobby, I believe, is trying to promote it. And, coming into this place, it's freaking cool. Yeah. As soon as I walked in, like slot cars, tracks and stuff. And I've been in other slot car places, and it's not like this.
No, I think I come from a background of advertising, and when I started to work with Scott here at Electric Dreams, we figured out there was a lot of stuff to be fixed. But at some point, we need, as the biggest inventory in the world, we need to start to promote the hobby. And the first thing was to put a track together. And then we decided how we're going to put this track, because we want to put plastic because that's the product that we sell. But at the same time, the American racer doesn't know very much plastic on a race as a raceway. They know plastic maybe on the basement, on the Christmas night. And then we decided to go with this track, which is kind of it's a wooden 1/32 scale. It has 3.5 inches in between lanes, so it's perfect for it. We designed together. Scott have, of course, the final say for that. And right now, I just grabbed the car from Ian Douglas, who won the race on Sunday, the NSR Western Championship, and was trying to beating his time. It was very hard. I couldn't do it. Of course, the track changed. I have a lot of excuses, but the thing is, even this track, this is so challenging that we cannot do 2 or 3 laps on the same pace, because you always try to do something different on the asses. So I'm telling you all this because the track was something that, okay, we need to have a track. If you're going to promote ourselves as the number 1 slot car star on the road, we need to be on all levels. And I want people to walk in and say, oh, okay, this is a cool place. And of course, I took advantage because Scott's a car collector. It is a racer, so He has a bunch of moldings and car parts, even Formula 1 car parts and wheels and tires. So we use this as a decoration. And I'm glad that you like it, because that's the effect that I want when somebody walks in. It's just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, great environment.
By the way, we just put it there. That's a front wing of Ronnie Peterson's March 710, crashed in Monaco.
Wow, that's very cool.
It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah,
so we're always trying to find stuff like that, and that's the effect that I wanted. Okay, this is still here. This is hot. There's people on the track. For example, we do the Halloween Enduro. The Halloween Enduro used to be just a Halloween party. But the thing is, we attract a lot of new people, and they just see people trying slot cars for the first time, crashing and stuff like that. So during the Halloween party, in 2 hours, we stop the track and put the pros to race. And you have lights on the car, smoke, the whole store is no lights. And then we have those people who came to start to know slot cars watching a full professional race, and then they get hooked.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff that we want to show. And but I agree with you on the manufacturer's frustration, and they're trying to get to the big boxes, and I don't believe. And now I'm shooting myself on the foot. Like, I don't believe that they have the vision that it should have, and I don't believe they give the importance to the collectors. Because even if it's that just 2% of their market, that's the 2% trying to bring the sport back and promoting. So I think in the bottom of my heart that they should take more care of those guys, even if they're in the 40s, 50s, or 60s, or the 70s. Because those are the guys that are the core of the production. Those are the guys that want to know about the new stuff. Those are the guys promoting. And those are the guys buying sets to send to nephews and grandsons around the world. So I think we share the same.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an analog guy, and when Carrera commissioned the track, I had like, okay, we'll build this big thing out. And there's like, we just need a small track and it's digital. And so I started racing the digital, and I actually enjoyed it. I said, oh, this is really cool. There's a use for this, and when I had my track that I built at home, I had 6 lanes. It was AC2, and you could lane change and do things and have 2 cars in one lane because one's on the high and the lower. And it was a lot of fun. But when I founded Slot Mods, I just wanted to do, wooden do-it-yourself, 4x16s that a father and son could get together and do this family thing. Because I was really all about promoting the hobby and bringing, my line was bringing friends and families together. And as the business grew and the people, it kind of sussed out itself, like who could afford or wanted these bigger tracks and layouts. And it kind of started, when I started upscaling, then I started having a lot of haters on Facebook and like, oh, guys with more money than they know what to do with. But these gentlemen have a passion because they race slot cars.
Wow, but between you and me, it's a lot of money.
It's
a good investment. It's worth it. I'm not saying anything, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, 10,000 square feet, employees, and just everything to bring those to life.
Do you think that deal that you have on somebody else selling one of your tracks and bring a trailer was beneficial to you?
Yeah, when the 917 sold, it was
the 917.
Yeah.
There was another one before, right?
There have been a few, and they've been selling for twice as much as when I built them. And so
wasn't it easier just call you and order the track?
Yeah, sometimes I don't think they realize that. And I'm like,
good.
And there's a few out there that some gentlemen are looking to sell, and I'm like, well, your track is so specific to some of the things that you like that it may be difficult to command the price that you're asking, because I give them a written, like, here's what it would cost for me to build it today.
Sure.
And gentlemen are like, well, I'll just commission one myself that what I wanted to represent.
Oh, okay.
So yes, the prices have gone up on them. It's more of interactive art. It is still slot car racing. When talking to the clients, they have their favorite era of slot cars, and be it Formula One, Can-Am. I don't really do like Indy, because there's not a lot of Indy slot cars out there. No. Formula One slot cars on our tracks, they're a little bit light. So the brands that work well on my track, Slottits run great. Scale Electrics out of the box, they're very easy just to fly. They're a little bit more finicky. You gotta do a lot of
but they look good.
Oh, they look beautiful.
They look good, yeah.
I have a couple hundred fly slot cars, and in my collection. But with some of the brands, and I'm not favoring any of them, but NSR is just doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And they had reached out to me a while back about a track, and I think they were moving at the time, but just some incredible.
Was that the Monaco track?
No, they were asking me just like, we'd like have a track at the at our factory and this and that, and it never really came to fruition.
Yeah, they're celebrating 25 years this year, and they had a Monaco track, but I think was local made.
Okay,
it's pretty cool. Yeah, they had this big party, and the track was there, so people tried to beat the record with the Formula One car.
Yeah, I mean, since I started out, like I say, in aisle 6 of a hobby shop, and then moving on to 2,500 square feet.
That was in Michigan, right?
Yeah, that's.
Okay, let's tell the whole story. We have the whole afternoon.
Well, I'll give you as much time as I can, but back in 2008, the economy here in the U.S., bottomed out, And so where I worked, we were all let go of our jobs. And I was racing slot cars in my basement as a hobby. I had an 18 by 20 6-lane AC2 track that some guys, if I go back a little bit further, a Hammacher Schlemmer catalog came, and it's a Christmas gift magazine here in the States. You're probably not familiar with it.
No.
And you can go in there and open it up and order toys. And before I had my track in the basement, they had a little Carrera set. And I told my wife, hey, I'd like this set. And she said, yeah, okay, And Christmas came and it wasn't there. And then she brought it, excuse me.
That's fine.
Brought it down the hall, and there it was. So I was all excited, but it was the smaller version, 143rd. Is that what it is?
Oh yeah, the Carrera Go, yes.
Yeah, Carrera Go, and I was like, this really isn't what I wanted. So I ended up going out and buying 132nd. So before I knew it, in my basement, I had 119 feet of plastic Carrera track, and I was loving it. And I got turned on to this local guy, Jimmy Addard, with the Northline Raceway in his basement. And it's all wooden, and he's a master modeler and just a die-hard slot car guy. And so I went over his house, and he didn't know me from Adam, and someone made an introduction. I went over there and I fell in love with this. I want to make one of these. He goes, yeah, everyone says that. And then 4 weeks later, we were in my basement making sawdust and building this big track. So I was doing that. It was some of the guys would come over from work before we shut down, and sometimes I'll jump around here on the timelines. But so after that happened, I said, man, I really enjoy this, and I believe there's a market for people who'd want to race slot cars.
Yeah.
So I founded Slot Mods. Was trying to do it yourself.
But you already have in mind having these full decorated pieces?
No, not at all.
Not
I
at
was
all.
just thinking flat tracks that you
Okay.
put four by fours together. I had copper tape on them. I had a scale XX transformer. So I was kind of kit bashing a track that you could buy for $779. And it would come with everything, and a father and son would put it together. So there'd be this
Almost like a ping pong table.
Yeah, exactly. But they'd have this experience of, hey, I built this with my dad. Like the stories we hear about. I'm 62, so so my passion was in trying to bring people together, and so I had I got some cards printed up, and I was in aisle 6, and that really I was. My daughter was 4 years old. She stood at the end, and people would come up and, what is this? And it's slot cars, and they'd get to race. And one gentleman walked in and he says, wow, this is incredible. I remember these. And he goes, I'd like to have one. And I kind of told him about my track. And he said, well, how about if I come over, can I see it? And he came over and he's like, wow, this is incredible. Because I had the scenery and all this stuff and elevations. He's like, well, how much for one of these? And I said, geez, I don't know. I could possibly build you a third of it. And he goes, well, how much? I said, $4,000. He goes, okay. And I'm like, $4,000? This dude's going to pay me. I'm leaning against my dryer.
I hope he's not watching now, but yeah.
No,
okay.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think now he feels that he's pretty fortunate because he could probably sell for more. But
Yeah.
it
Number one track. Slot Mod's number one track.
So I went out to his house. He had a 5-car garage, and I was building it on site. And that's when the light went off about, okay, these kind of larger scale tracks for interactive racing and bring more of the diorama to it. When people ask me, what do you do for a living? And if I say, I built slot car tracks, and they're like, well, what are those? And I'll just say, you ever been in a museum and seen a train display?
Yeah.
Picture that with slot cars going around. And then they're like, oh, yeah. And so as it started to develop, I made that one, and I took some business cards to this place called Auto One, which isn't an auto supply store. It's a die-cast model place in Detroit where there's a lot of cars and coffees, and a lot of big wigs go there in the auto industry. And I got an email from a gentleman who said, hey, I'd like you to make me Laguna Seca. And I said, okay. And his name was Jim Farley, who is now the president of the Ford Motor Company. But at the time, he wasn't. He was the golden boy of Toyota here in L.A.
Okay.
And so I had to, Google real quick, who's Jim Farley? And I went out to his house, and super nice guy. And so I started building him Laguna Seca.
But you already have the skills to do the corkscrew and stuff like that, or it was a challenge for you? Because so far you're doing flat stuff with.
Yeah, well, I had some good guys around me to
okay.
say, okay, because I'm really not a woodworker guy, so I never want to portray hey, I always say if I was injured and I had to build the table to be operated on, I would die because it wouldn't hold up. So that's where I thought, if I get the right people around me, we'll get this thing going. And so that's what I've done, over 15 years. Is, found good people, good people have come into.
That was one of my questions, because when I went to visit you, I think was 2 years ago, maybe 3.
I think, 3.
Maybe 3, right? One thing that impressed me was just like you had the right guys for every single job. Like, oh yeah, this guy's doing this guy's doing that. That's the guy who does this.
Yeah.
I say, okay, that makes sense. It's not like it's centralized on David and he's doing everything that he could.
No, it would be difficult as being a business, and basically I'm kind of, at this point, creative director, visionary. If you were to call me and say, hey, I'd like a slot car track, and what's your favorite genre of racing? Oh, I like this. And I kind of talk them through, like, this is what we do. These are the sizes. And we really don't talk about pricing until I narrow down what you're looking for. Yeah. So if someone says, well, I like Le Mans, I like Monaco and Nürburgring, and we just did an installation in the Midwest like that, I will sit down and doodle by hand, of what I see within this footprint. And then Nick, who is my designer, then he takes it into the electronic world, and I set the elevation. So it is truly a team effort, but when you look at a track build, every part you see of a tree, a sign, has been directed to be there by me as far as the vision.
Sure. And
those parts of the build all come together in the last 2 months of it, where it starts really getting populated beyond, the mounting of the tracks, the painting, the braiding. I paint the tracks. Then the crew, we paint, braid, and then we do the foam, and then we hand carve it, and then, and everything just kind of, it's like a cake. And at the very end, I come and decorate it because I have everything at my disposal, the trees, the rolled Armco rail, and then I just see it in my head, and I turn on some, it's kind of like house music, and then I just go at it, and I get in the zone. But, I have my brother Larry working for me, who's very talented, and, Tommy and the guys you just met. So it really is a team effort. I'm am I the face of Slot Mod? Yes. Do I do everything there? No. Am I the voice of it? Do I answer the phone? Yes, I do. And people say, well, why do you answer the phone? I said, well, because people are making an investment.
Because everybody here is busy.
Yeah, we're all busy, But I think it's important to the client to feel like they have that they're dealing with, artists who are going to talk to them and not be like, oh, let me put you on hold, and things like that. And so I like the personal touch. I've done corporate work for, I can go on and on, but the big ones, Formula One, Ford, Neiman Marcus, Audi, which was very early on that kind of launched slot mods out there, which became
it's New York, right?
Yeah, then went on to the Today Show, and just
when I was there, when I visited you, you were finishing the Fiat building.
Yes, yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was one of those projects where I built a pretty big installation for a man down in El Paso. And while I was there, I noticed that he had a lot of Fiats. And I said, hey, I got an idea. How about if I build the Fiat Lingato factory for you? Yeah. And he goes, oh, I love the idea. And then as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, shit. Now I got to figure out.
So that was literally the Lingato building is just like, I'm trying to explain, correct me if I'm wrong. It's just a whole building, like the offices of Fiat, and they have like an oval track on top of the building. Like 15 stories, right?
Yeah.
15, 16 stories high. And they have this oval on the top of the building. Still there. They don't use it anymore, but you can visit. And he built the whole thing. And all the stories do have offices and people working and showrooms and stuff. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was quite a project. And the guys really came through. And the track running on top, we 3D printed 125 little Fiats and painted them. And we used Carrera Go chassis, and they worked out really well. But those kinds of projects like Lingato, and we've done some dioramas that are 15 feet long, and guys can store their cars, and it's in the works are other large display cases that are 15 feet long, and I'm doing one I've been talking to Scott about for our clients. It's like the history of slot car racing, and it'll be filled with a lot of the cool stuff that he has. But right now, what I'm feeling with the business is we really need to stay focused on doing what's in our wheelhouse, and that's the slot car tracks.
Sure.
And this, we just launched a new website, and we are a niche market. Our buyers are specific. Our buyers are at an age where they think back about racing slot cars, and they really do want to share it with their grandkids and their kids.
And they're very proud about the tracks.
Yes. And which is good. And, like today we just installed one, that's where the reward is for us when we're there and the client gets to race around. And, they're all very private though, because people want to, hey, can we see one? Well, now you can. There is the Murphy Museum. It's up in Ventura.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, I know, the vintage European cars, right?
Yeah, and Fireball Tim, he's a local guy.
yeah.
He walked in, and I wasn't aware of it, that he's partners in it, but there was a track that we did for a gentleman up in L.A., and now it's in the museum, and they're open to the public on the weekends, so people could go see, an example of our work. It's only a 2-lane, but the thing is 24 feet wide, and I think it's 14 feet deep. And
okay, that's big.
it has the full,
huge track.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. You sit there and you look around, and it, if you're not paying attention, it's got the Monza Bank. It's got Targa Florio.
How long ago did you build that?
We built it about 3 years ago,
Okay.
and we did the installation. But he had.
Did you know they were moving the track?
I didn't know that. The gentleman's situation changed.
Did you get worried when they moved it to your track without telling you?
Well, they asked us to be involved, and I said, well, it's really not in the moving business. I can help you coordinate like a trucking company, but the gentleman who purchased his house, it was part of the deal.
Oh.
And then he wanted it, and his wife didn't want it in the house, so then he donated it to the Murphy Museum.
Donated
it. So I don't think they realize what they have. I mean, not just say like slot mods, but I'm just saying that they have this slot car track, and it's.
I think I remember that listing because that listing made the news. The house with the slot car track, right?
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was. I think the asking price was $62 million for the house, and the room that it was in, it was like a James Bond kind of thing, kind of like.
I know.
Yeah, a gentleman we both know, and so the resale of the tracks, they're far and few, but. I don't like when they sell because of the relationship I have with the client and with the track, and I wanted to find a good home. And
well, Zack Brown moved overseas.
Yes, and
he was here, and he was very proud about that. When I asked about his track, I just start to say everything about it. Oh yeah, there's Laguna Seca, and then goes this way, and he described the whole track.
Yeah, Zack, the story on that, I was featured in Auto Week, and basically how that all came about is when I built Jim Farley a track. He knew Casey Crane and guys with Auto Week magazine, the Crane family and stuff. And I wanted to do some advertising. And I had built this promotional track that I took to a concourse. Meadowbrook Concourse is out in Detroit. Now it's the St. John's. Now it's the Detroit Concourse. But I had this track, and I called Casey, and I said, hey, can I get a full-page ad in your magazine? And I said, I'll trade you this track. And he goes, well, how much? And I mentioned it, and he goes, well, how about 2 full pages, back to back? And to the point of me jumping around, when I lost my job, I sat down at my kitchen table, and I wrote to Car and Driver, Auto Week, Automobile Magazine, Road and Track, and I wrote, to whom may it concern, my name is David Beattie, and I build slot car tracks. And I told my little story, and interviewer from Auto Week came out, and Automobile Magazine. And so I started to get some traction. And so Auto Week had a track down there. And then I needed to move a track because Pebble Beach wanted me to have a track out there. And they had seen me in Garage Style Magazine because I took an ad in there. And I was just kind of doing this grassroots thing. And so I took the track out there. It was dedicated to Phil Hill. And I had it in the Auto World tent or whatever they have. And Jay Leno came in, and he's like, well, hey, Dave, and he's looking at this thing. And so, I did my first episode of Jay Leno's Garage, and Jay and I have become friends. And so it kind of started a snowball. But when I needed the track moved out to Pebble Beach, I called the gentleman at Reliable Trucking. I said, hey,
the big orange.
Yeah. Tom, great guy. I said, I need to get this track out to Pebble Beach. How much would it cost? He goes, well, how about if you build a slot car track for me? I'll move the track out there, but I'll pay you for the track, but we'll just discount the price. So there was all these pieces falling together then before,
Then you're in.
Yeah, I'm in Pebble Beach, and I've got 2 other tracks in
Pebble
the queue.
Beach, Jay Leno, Reliable Trucking. You know everybody now.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, I'm meeting people. But so it was in late November, and I get this email from Zach and saying, hey, I want you to build me a slot car track. He didn't ask hey, can you build me? It's like, will you build me? And I'm like, so I wrote back to him. I Googled him. I'm like, all right, yeah, cool. And I really still didn't know much about him. And I said, okay, my brother-in-law who had a plane, it was a hobby for him. He built a plane and self-built it as a kid. And I said, hey, there's this guy down in Indiana.
Plane?
A plane, airplane.
Okay.
Yeah, my brother-in-law. But
Yeah.
so
Don't invite me in for the test.
yeah.
How handy is this guy? It's like, okay, I'm gonna build a plane. Let's go the whole family. No.
Yeah. So I called him up and I said, hey, can you fly me down to
What?
Indiana to
With your experimental plane?
yeah, it's a kick
God.
plane. And he said, sure. And
So you really deserve everything that you say. Just at this point, yes.
yeah. So just trying to make things happen. So I said to Zach, yeah, my brother-in-law will fly me down. And Zach like, oh, that's cool. Well, the weather changed. And the weather was bad. There was all this snow, and I
Another red
called,
flag.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I called Zach, and I'm like, hey, listen, I can't make it down. And he said, okay, well, I'll send my jet. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then he says, I'll catch up with you later. And I just thought, oh, yeah, he's going to send his jet. And then I get this email, be out to Pentastar at the Oakland airport. And one of the gentlemen who worked with me went out there, got in Zach's jet, flew down there. It took us an hour, went to Zach's house, a beautiful house. Zach was super cool. Took us downstairs, a totally gutted room, and he's like, fit as much track in here as you can. And this is what I like. So we kind of shoehorned this thing.
That's the other side of the story that we don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So, but Zach was very specific of what he liked. And so that was like a major build, because back then we weren't designing things in CAD and such. It was more, simple math and setting this elevation here.
And hoping for the best.
Yeah.
It's gonna connect.
Doing the carousel. And so we built it, we got it down there, and he came down and, he just loved it, and he and I raced. And so he says, hey, I want to have you back for a Super Bowl. I'm having a party, so why don't you come back down? And I said, oh, for sure. So, business was kind of going up and down and such. So I said, well, I'll come down and I'll host the track and, kind of mingle and network. He says, yeah, it'd be fantastic. So get down there, and his friends are there. I mean, guys who ended up with...
Imagine the group of friends.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
there was the president of Pepsi. And, Zach's friend, Ari Lang, was there, and all these guys. And so it was pretty impressive. And so the evening was going on, and then Bobby Rahal walked in, and he's like, wow. And I've never met Bobby before. He goes, this is awesome. And then he said, I better get something to eat before I buy one. And I said, yeah. I said, eat lightly.
Get to drink. Get something to drink.
So, people were coming down and they were racing, and it was a lot of fun. And then Bobby came in and he picked up a controller, and then he and I were racing. And then I was like, but it clicked because he was competitive right off from the go. He wasn't like shy or anything. And we were, first I was just kind of leading him around. Then he passed me. I'm like, okay, he knows what he's doing. So we were going, and, cars are flying off, but he was laughing and he enjoyed it. And I thought, and he said, Dave, it was a pleasure to meet you. And I said, well, pleasure, the same. So I'm leaving there, and here's the point to the ups and downs of things. I'm leaving there. I have no tracks in the queue. And the phone rings, and I'm about 3 hours out of town and from Detroit. And Dave, this is Bobby. Hey, Bobby, how's it going? I want a track. And I'm like, what do you want? Road America. Can you be in Chicago on Monday? I'm driving Sunday morning home when I'm tired. And I'm like, I can, but how about Tuesday? He goes, oh, that's fine. So we drove to his place at the Audubon Raceway. It's a club, and measured out his space, and he gave me a stack of programs for Road America. And he just worked really closely with me, and he was a super guy. But during that drive home, I was really concerned about what's the next thing I'm doing here. I have a young daughter at home and my wife. And 20 minutes later, another gentleman called Jerry Forsyth, who was involved with kart and Indy, and he was in deck racing. And he said, hey, David, I built a house. I've been holding on to this magazine article for 3 years from Auto Week, and I'm ready to commission a track. And I said, what would you like? He said, Road America.
Again?
Yeah.
Same track.
But a smaller one,
Okay.
And I said, so when I went to Chicago, I said, oh, I can come up and see your space. And his space was just amazing. It was, he called it his attic. But when you went upstairs, it was 3 floors, 30,000 square foot house, and this room was beautiful, looking over a pool with cauldrons of fire around it. I can't make this stuff up, but he wanted to have it for his grandkids, and so we put it together. And his kids came over towards Christmas, and their eyes lit up, and did this reveal, and it really warmed my heart. So when I get into those positions now, I just give it up to God and the universe and say, okay, we're building these tracks. The phone's been kind of quiet, but then I kind of realized that not too much is put upon me when I can't handle too much.
Yes.
And there's been times when I've taken on a lot of work and I'm like, I'm in over my head. And because I don't like to put people off. Yes, in the custom world, gentlemen are used to commissioning a car and it takes 3 years. And so they have patience, but I still like to deliver. And then when I do deliver, yeah. I want it to be spot on. And so it's worked out well where these, Formula One reached out to me. Zach said, hey, this guy's going to be calling you and, treat him well. And I did. And I went up there and I raced cars with Ross Braun and, some of the other drivers.
Ross Braun is a big slot car guy.
Yeah, when I told him the price, he's like, bullocks, and I'm like, bollocks,
Oh, he bought an F1 team for $1. So.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that was Ross's first year at the helm of Formula One. As I don't know if his title was president or something.
Yeah, general manager.
Yeah, so he was kind of put as the face of it. And so each day at lunchtime, we were up in the VIP suite. The drivers would come up and do an interview, and Ross would be there as well. And when the interview was over, he'd come over to the track, and he and I would race. And I said, how do you like all this? He goes, well, I like being behind the wall and, not all this PR stuff. Yeah. So for 4 days straight, he and I raced, and it was cool. And Alonso was on the track, and, a lot of the drivers, it was kind of mind-blowing to be behind,
those guys.
The velvet rope. And then, Zach gave me, this VIP treatment, went down into the pits, and, I'm in their glass tube.
Well, we're flying on the guy's jet, so what else you wanted?
Exactly.
What else you wanted?
Yeah, and then when he moved to England, he's like, hey, I want to bring my track over. Can you come over? And so myself and 2 other guys, we flew
did
over
the move.
and
I didn't know that. No.
Put it together amongst his car collection there, and then he moved it again, and I sent 2 guys just like 3 years ago. And so with Zach, it's interesting because we still talk and text and things like that. And I've done some tracks for people that he's networked. And I'll tell him, oh, yeah, this gentleman called me, and, like with Bobby. And I said, yeah, we finished Bobby's track. And Zach is, yeah, but mine's the best. And I go, absolutely.
Yes.
So through here to eternity, no matter what I build.
He's a class act. We sent him one of the badges that we have for the Slotted Nationals, inviting him to come over. And he couldn't come because it was a car week. We're going to move the race for the week before. And he sent a handwritten letter saying, oh, I love this. Thank you very much for inviting me over. I can't come, but as soon as I can, I will be there.
Nice.
Yeah, send it back.
Yeah, he's a mover and shaker. He's solid guy. He loves slot car racing, loves slot cars, because when we went back, he had a bunch of slot cars that I didn't make for him, and these are being made in Europe, and brass chassis, and I'm like, where did you get these? And stuff out of the box. But he loves slot cars, and there's and being in, the interesting thing about in the opportunities and the people I've been able to speak to, like when I was building a track that had Monza on it, I was kind of doing the thing with the 917. I was talking to Vic Alford, where he and I would collaborate and promote a car together. And so Vic and I would talk, and he loved to talk, and so I'd be listening to him about racing at Monza and the banking and the rails and just the coolest stuff. And so
you're having a 4th dimension of what it was.
Yeah, and it's, like in meeting Alan Jr., Richard Petty, and just the Allison brothers and Ari Lyondike, and just the names, Bobby Rahal, Graham Rahal, is Hinchcliffe. James, is his name Hinchcliffe?
Hinchcliffe, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been very, I forget names and stuff like that, but I've been very, very fortunate, and I'm still trying to grow the hobby, and to the point, you guys edit what you want here, but I'm, I'll tell it like it is. From my opinion, we all need to really work together.
Oh yeah.
And I'll promote anyone's brand, and this is the kind of cars I use and stuff like that. Again, slotted, NSR, Scale Electrics, and Fly. And Fly had reached out to me one time and said, can you recommend some cars for us to build? And I'm like, yes, please build, the 911 series that raced in the, what was it? I want to call it Trans Am, but they were all different colors, which was a great era for those. And I think they ended up doing something like that, but with to that point, I was going to do an out-of-the-box track myself, with polycar track. And I had talked to Maurizio. What did I say his name right?
Mauricio.
Yeah, Maurizio. And it kind of fell on deaf ears. And, I thought, well, I'm just trying to promote things. I'm not going to become a wealthy man promoting plastic tracks and doing things. I'm just trying to help put it in front of people's eyes.
Yeah, but it could be a good idea to have your brand in a kit, in a set.
I've been approached, and I've been approached by people who can afford to back me, but I'm not in managing a business that, manufactures plastic tracks. I like, doing.
But with the quality of your product, with the branding that you're doing, you can do whatever you want. As I told you, my idea was to have you trying to build figures and trees and 3D stuff, diorama stuff to sell with your brand on it. That would be... But I know it takes a lot of time. It's not that it's always custom. But again, if you want to put it on the side and make maybe even take it to China and do it with your brand on it, we will sell.
Yeah. But at heart, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I've always been involved in other things, but with the passion of the slot car track, building, making, designing, the interaction. That's what I really enjoy, and going out and working on the floors when.
And hear Vic Elford talk your story.
Yeah, talking to Vic Elford,
yeah.
And that kind of thing. And it's just, it's been an incredible, journey so far. I think I got another 10 years in me. Okay. And we're just trying to perfect the tracks and the leveling systems and just the experience.
Are you numbering the tracks? How many?
Yeah, we number them. I sign them. So I think I'm up near around 40 tracks.
40?
Yeah. That's and nice. So I'm out about a year and 2 years in builds. Okay. The commissioning of them. I'm going to be doing my first HO slot car track for a gentleman because he's got a bunch of HO cars. And I was always not like, I'm not going to do that. And then he was telling me his story about racing with his dad and how much fun they had. And I said, okay, look.
HO cars are just great. We have Mark Natividad here, which is a HO specialist. He's crazy about it. He knows everything. Recently, I bought a collection from a lady. Her brother passed, and she has this whole collection. She didn't want to touch it. She didn't even want me to count it. So she said, how much you want it? She gave me a price. I paid. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not an HO specialist. She didn't want me to see all the cars. I brought it here. I bring Mark over to try to. And we have over $50,000 worth of HO cars.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
There were cars over $700 there that we sold in the first week. Super rare stuff. And Mark is just in love with it. And I don't understand very much because I don't think you can race as you can race 132nd scale without magnets or even 124 brass stuff. Because they have magnets, they're stuck to the track and it's kind of looping around too fast. I don't know. But those people they love it. They just love it. It's a different passion they enjoy stuff.
Yeah, growing up, we had 124 scale, and that's what I grew up in, then 132nd. HO, I'm really not, but, it's kind of neat to branch off. I like different things, and, the project with Carrera was fun. There was a lot of work, though, to get
Talking about that, are you planning to do any digital track?
I would like to. I know, Maurizio's system is really cool. Yeah, and but I'm not opposed to it. But right now, these guys are like analog.
There's a couple of companies in France. I'm not going to tell you the name of them because I only remember one, so I don't want to be not fair here. But they have a very nice system. The system that is only 2 lanes, you race it around. If you go to the pit stop, the car comes a little slower because it's full. If you crash somebody out, you need to do a stop and go, whatever they call. And then the circuit has the proper racing line.
Okay.
So when you're by yourself.
Yes, I'm familiar with that brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's two companies that make those.
All right.
And they're digital. They use Mauricio's oxygen system.
Yeah. That's pretty. It's really good stuff. It's not in my wheelhouse, with what we're doing. And again, it is, with slot mods, it is, slot car racing. I want it to be competitive. I want it to be interactive. I want it to be visually stunning for people. So our brand is what we do. I've done some flat tracks, but we still do the scenery and stuff like that. But variety, is the spice, of life. And I've tried to do some kit tracks and offer them, in the price point that I can afford to do them.
For sure.
And $5,000 is a price point, but it's still not where, you know, anyone can afford that. You know, when I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, I wasn't buying, you know, expensive. Yeah. So, you know, with slot mods, you know, I am committed to promoting the hobby and supporting the manufacturers and doing what I can. And Electric Dreams, you know, my clients, I send them the link. Here's where you get your cars, you know. And, you know, there's another supplier that is an hour away from me. And,
yeah, we don't need to.
Yeah.
No. Okay,
but, you know, I've had a relationship.
We love them all. We love them all.
Yeah, but they don't have what you have. You know, in Electric Dreams, I haven't found anybody who has the products, the service, you know, and the passion. You know, I mean, you guys are doing a wonderful job here.
Thank you, David.
But,
so if I want a slot mod track, what's my first step? Give you a call.
Give me a call or contact me through the website. Visit our website, you know, www.slotmods.com. We just launched it.
So you're gonna know the space, the footprint, understand what you desire.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the space, you know, we can race. I mean, it's just kind of what you feel comfortable with, what you budget, and I just talk you through it.
We're talking Christmas 2026, the next delivery.
Yeah, that would be.
How long is the line?
Right now we're about 12 months up, and I just got commissioned to do a build over in Switzerland. That's going to be about a 2-year build.
2-year build.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty enormous. It's more a lot of details, and the gentleman was interested in a train set, and I'm like, well, I can do them, so I think we're going to do the train set and to give your viewers just a little bit of insight into the world of slot mods. When I said, well, we'll have to put it on a ship and send it over, he goes, no. He goes, I got a fleet of 727s with my business, so we'll just put them in there, and then we'll...
how do you calculate the price for this track? It's just like, let's start for the zeros. Let's start the zeros here first.
But it's, you know, it's not about, you know, the main thing, the focus is about the track, but to give, you know, to let people inside, you know, the world that we go into in the car collection that I just came from, it is very special. These men work hard. You know, people say, oh, he's got more money than brains, and they didn't get that money without the brains.
Yeah,
and
of course
they
not.
and they love slot cars. And so, you know, at the end of the day, I don't care if it's a, you know, $50,000 track or $250,000. You're going to get the same treatment from me. It doesn't matter. I'm not, you know, everyone's equal in my eyes. And after doing this for 15 years, I can tell you I prefer to work with the private client versus the corporate clients because there's, they don't have the passion. Once the track's done, we're going to put it in a warehouse. I'm like, people need to see this, you know, and experience it. But again, you know, I've thought about doing a show and letting people see how we build things, but it really moves kind of slow. And I've been offered, you know, TV shows that people come in and film, and they wanted me to hire extra people for personalities and have a girl who's a ditz. And I'm just like, no, that's not true. That's not who we are, you know? It's a slow process.
Well, I understand. That's about passion. It's about knowing the guys and talk about with Vic Elford to learn how Monza was and build that corner that is not being used for 60 years now and make something with passion. Not only passion, but true to the heart.
Yeah. I mean, and with Zach, you know, and Martin Brundle and stuff, when I was building Zach's track, he was doing the 24 hours of Daytona. Is that what it is? And he and I are texting, and I'm like, the race is starting in 15 minutes. He's like, what's the name of this tournament?
What about my track?
Martin's asking about this
slot car guy.
What you're calling the Dunlop Hill. He doesn't know what that is. I said, well, I call it the Dunlop Hill because the Dunlop Bridge is at the top, and they come down and go through the little S section now, which was part of my track. So...
So you're trying to teach Zack Brown the name of the corners that he was literally doing at the time. It was literally there.
Well, I won't say that, but you know, even racing at my house, Zach was on TV. We had the races running, and then one guy goes, "Who are you building the track for?" And I'm like, "Oh, that guy right there." And it showed Zach, you know, going by, and I think they won or they were on the podium, and so he's been very successful. And he really is a champion of slot car racing and slot mods, as Bobby Rahal was. Adrian Fernandez, I built him a track.
Adrian Fernandez too.
Yeah. Nice. And he's like, David, I'm very particular. And at the end I said, Adrian, I didn't realize how particular you were.
What a horrible clientele.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You know, we ended up doing slot car drawers built into his track when you pop them open.
Yes, that's pretty
leather
cool.
line.
With the controller.
And set, and, you know, but super nice guy. So, I mean, I forget more people than I've met. And
I know.
Sorry, guys, if I forgot, but Adrian's super proud of his track, and as Bobby, he recently sold his, but it's pretty cool.
David, thank you very much for stopping by. You're a present hero of Slotcars. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here to see the store.
Oh, thank you.
And count on us to try to promote the business and make this thing be on the golden year again, which I believe that we're very close.
Well, I'm committed to it. And I know you guys are, so thanks for having me.
Thank you,
I really
David.
appreciate it.